We're live and we're in. We're live. We are
Bitches.
alive.
Bitch.
It's 10:41. We are fucking an hour and 40 minutes past our start time.
We'll get better about that. Fuck.
Yeah, and
It is also Christmas Eve. So Merry Christmas Eve or Happy
Merry
Christmas Eve.
Wait, Merry Christmas Eve. Yes,
Is it Merry Christmas
It's
Eve?
24th. Yeah,
That's the 24th. That sounds
Christmas
wrong
Eve.
when you say Merry Christmas Eve. It's Merry Christmas. You don't say, and then it's
You
Christmas
don't say
Eve.
Merry Christmas Eve,
Yeah,
but you
exactly.
can say Merry Christmas Eve because Merry Christmas Eve is usually when all the parties are and that's when people actually celebrate.
Yeah, true.
You know, because people typically wait till 12 a.m. for
Yeah.
Christmas and then they say Merry Christmas.
It's always a blessing to get together with family and celebrate, you know? But what do we got on the docket for today? So what happened this past week? Anything
What happened this
interesting
past
past
week?
week?
Well, it's fucking Christmas week, man.
Well, you got back
Nothing
into
much.
training. You were training too, right?
Yeah. Back into training. I mean, it's been good. It's been good just sweating and grinding again. And obviously, like, the gym that I go to is maybe I should have blurred out the name. Actually, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
But yeah, the gym that I go to is so fucking close, and I mean, you can literally just walk there. It's so good. It's so good, especially for my ass. Like it's so good that
I
it's,
was like
it's
waking
so
up in the
convenient.
morning because like for the viewers, for the 0 or 1 viewers that we have out there, this guy is not a morning person by any means.
I mean, it's like anything, man. You got to train for it.
You're like
You gotta
training to get
prepare
up in
for
the
it.
morning.
You got to just get used to it. You know, you got to get into that ebb and that flow.
How many
and
times a week in the morning are you going?
I've been going like 3 times during the week, and then the weekends I'm here, and then I'm also like I'll catch the afternoon class.
That's sick. So you're
Yeah.
getting like 3-4 sessions a week, like consistently.
Pretty much, yeah. Because I'll do, like during the weekdays, I'll try to get 2 or 3 in, and those 2 or 3 are always in the morning. So
Yeah,
7
yeah,
a.m.
yeah.
to 8. And it's good too. It's like it's just straight into it. They do a little warm up, and they get into the one technique, and it's one every single time, which
Yeah.
is something I really like. And then they just drill from there. So like the other day, like yesterday, it was we were training crucifix. Just from like the start position was turtle. One person was on turtle, which is
Hook the
literally
leg.
just on all.
Hook the
you know?
arm. Like,
Hook the arm with leg,
Yeah.
and then do a little
Do your
fucking
entry.
flip entry, whatever thing.
Front roll.
Yeah, front
Yeah,
roll
yeah,
into
yeah.
the crucifix, and then
Yeah.
that's where you start. You either
Sick.
go
That's
and
foot
get
position for sure. And like I think what you're kind of describing, just to go back to the fact that you're going to morning classes. I really love morning workouts in general because it's just getting it out of the way and it wakes you up and it kind of like you have that locked and loaded for the day now. So
Yeah.
like whatever happens, you have that workout at the very least. You don't feel like a useless piece of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because sometimes it's really easy after work, especially it's past 5. You're just chilling
Exactly.
there. You have your little breaks, like we just finished a fucking ripper, and then it's really easy to fall into the trap of like, yeah, I'm not gonna go today. you know?
Exactly.
For me especially. You're good about that.
I'm a big fan of just embracing the suck in the morning. Just like
yeah,
just
you've been doing like the runs and going to the stairs. And,
well, I don't do as
back in the
many
day.
stairs as much anymore. I should get back into it honestly
Yeah.
because that's probably if I'm preaching about embracing the suck, I should be going back into that.
it's cool
But
right now.
honestly, it's to the point now that I'm so used to to waking up and working out first thing in the morning that if I don't do it, like I get like irritated. Like I don't know, like not irritated, but like my day doesn't feel complete if I don't
Yeah.
have like a morning workout. You know what I mean? So
What
my
do you do in
body's
the
just
morning now?
conditioned. I literally just do a full body workout.
You
So I
just-
have
you
like
hit it- so wait,
I have
training?
a day A and day B.
yeah.
So day A is like upper body. Day B is just lower body for the most part. But yeah, like
which gym? Crunch?
at Crunch. Yeah, it's
Oh,
like $10,
true.
$10 a
Yeah.
month. Can't go wrong.
Crunch
And then
is
actually speaking about the whole like, after work, it's so easy to say no. Cause obviously I train mostly at night.
Mm.
Like what I find works well with me is I just take a quick like power nap, like 30-40 minutes sometimes, literally right after like my last meeting.
Yeah.
And then I feel so much more refreshed and I get a way better training session. Cause you have to keep in mind as well, like for the most part, I'm also fasting throughout the day. So like by the time I like you're just so mentally taxed from all the stuff that you're doing throughout the day that if I don't have that, I'll still be able to train if I don't have that nap. But that nap is like a big difference maker. I
Mm.
feel a lot more refreshed and like energized to actually do have a better training session in the evening.
And you fast because
It simplifies my day.
yeah,
It simplifies my day. I
just
don't
one meal a day, right?
Like I mean, you can not necessarily one meal a day, just like a feeding window, like after I finish training. Usually,
Mm.
sometimes like now I find that if I do have something light, like right before my nap, for example, then like I have a little bit more energy. I don't know, maybe it's just in my head, but fasting I find really simplifies my day. I definitely have a lot more clarity, and I've been doing it for so long that I mean, obviously, there's a whole load of health benefits that come along with that. Like, it helps your body regenerate. Apparently, it helps with like preventing cancer because when your body's in that fasting state, it all like the cancerous cells get like killed off. Basically, well, your body starts
Fuck,
like yeah.
really?
If you look into it, there's all sorts of health benefits that actually come
Just
with
look
fasting.
into it. Just look
Yeah.
into it.
So
You'll be surprised.
but just all the health stuff aside, it just simplifies my day because instead of having to worry about like what am I gonna have for breakfast, what am I gonna have for lunch, and actually spending the time to prepare it, like if you actually do the math, it's about like even if you're doing it fast, it's an hour out of your workday that you're prepping all that stuff. You know what I mean? So I
And
also
it's good
find
because we're in the recession right now. You say you
Well, not
save
even-
some
yeah,
of that money. You know,
like,
you
save-
save
well,
that grocery bill.
save a little bit of
Cut
money,
that shit
but
in half.
honestly, man, I still end up eating out a lot anyway. But
Fuck.
even that aside, I think because I've been doing it for so long that my body's conditioned to rest right after I eat. So if I do eat, like there's the odd time where for whatever reason I'm just gonna go and eat lunch, for example, and I'm groggy, like
Yeah.
like my mental clarity is not there. You know what I mean? I feel a lot sharper when I'm actually like hungry, like when I'm fasted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what the fuck is that? I mean, I know. Okay, for all my life, for most of my life, we you know the term itis.
Yeah.
But like, it's literally just your body working
processing.
to break all
Yeah,
food
it's processing the
down.
food.
But it's like there's a difference between having like a midday Big Mac versus a midday salad or something. Or not even a salad, but like like I don't even know. Like I feel like every food except for like maybe fruit. I feel like
Yeah.
just a big like 500 to 1,000 calorie
Calorie.
meal is gonna fuck me if I have that in the middle of the day.
100%.
And I'm gonna feel that. But like if I have a banana or strawberry or a shake
Yeah.
or something,
Now, obviously, I'm gonna fuck this up. So whoever's watching that actually has a background in biology or
We
nutrition
apologize.
and shit, like
I apologize.
you know, we'll fall on that sword 100 times over. However, if you just think of it from an anecdote, like from like our ancestors, for example, right? They weren't eating 3 square meals a day. They went days literally without eating. That's why, like, you could the one thing that you do have to have daily, pretty much, is water. Because you can't survive 3 days without drinking water. 3-4 days, what it depends on the person,
I
right?
need that
But you could
H2O.
literally survive like 20, like 15 plus days without food.
right.
Now it depends on obviously how much like fast stores that you have and all that good stuff. But you could all this to say that you'll die from thirst before you die from starvation. And if you look at like our ancestors, like unless you're one of the if you're like a hunter gatherer, for example, before the advent of agriculture, right? Where they could actually like farm and like store like grain and all that stuff, and then have like, and then that's how civilization pretty much started. Is like, you know, they were able, they figured out how to manage like crops. They were able to store some aside, so they're not just like, you know, just in time eating basically.
Yeah.
And that's what freed up time for them to start like, you know, developing like math or whatever the fuck it was, so that they you know, evolved as far as like you know, building buildings. And you know, it's just like the video games where
What the fuck? How did we get to?
yeah, but anyway, so all this to say, if you're like if you look at our hand, like, because if you think about it, the modern age is literally a fucking blink of an eye compared to like the broader range of like our
That's true.
species, right?
That's true.
So the majority of the time of our species, if you believe in evolution, and I don't know at this point why you wouldn't, right? Our ancestors literally would go days without eating, and
Yeah.
now I think I probably heard this on a Rogan podcast where he was just like, one of his guests was talking about how That's why when you're fasted, that feeling of focus is actually like a biological advantage,
Mm.
because as you get hungry, like it was
You're like, I gotta figure this shit
I
out.
gotta figure this shit out, because if I
yeah.
don't, I'm gonna
That makes
fucking
sense.
die.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
you know what I mean? Like,
And every meal counts, right? They're probably storing it away, and I would bet, like they're probably
well, they would gorge
keeping
themselves.
reserve.
They would like if you're a hunter gatherer, you would literally gorge yourself. Like let's say if you like, they're not finding meat every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They would find meat like, well, unless you're one of those like native, like the indigenous that were like you had some that were literally following buffalo as they migrated.
Yeah.
That's why like that's why they have teepees and stuff. They were like temporary homes basically. You know what I mean? That's why if you look at like the not even gypsies, but if you look at the oh my gosh, the Mongolians, for example, their yurts are like it's literally like a portable home. It's like the old school RV, bro.
Fuck's a yurt.
A yurt is basically this like house where they have a series of like sticks, like like posts basically, and then if you look it up, like they usually cover it with a bunch of like animal skin and whatnot, and then inside they'll like cover it with like carpet and like other animal skins and whatnot. It's basically like a temporary home, because they would literally just follow like the herds. Yeah, that's what a yurt is.
Looks like one of them small homes.
Yeah, exactly. So
Some gypsy shit. For
going
real,
back
though.
to it, so I think it's like if you look at our our biology, it's actually the majority of our time as a species has been spent fasting.
Yeah, I feel like today,
Over eons,
today's
you know what I
age,
mean?
like motherfuckers,
It's too easy, bro.
it's easy to get their food, and we eat more so to just satisfy that hunger, that feeling of hunger, because
Yeah.
we're so like
Well, it's like so accessible.
it's so accessible.
I'm guilty of it. I love a good snack.
Yeah. No, for me too. Like,
you know what I mean?
for me too. Like part of the reason why I like fucking training and working out, stuff like that, and even this is also a big factor for smoking weed, was because of the meal and like the water that you have, or just like the drink
Well,
that you have
weed makes
after.
everything better.
Yeah,
right?
weed makes everything better.
Like,
But like a workout too, even like that first sip of cold water after fucking a
Brother.
big gym sesh, or even just like
that's so satisfying.
it's so much more satisfying than if you were to do nothing at all and do it. But anyway, the point is like I feel like I'm eating nowadays. Like obviously, I mean, because like I'm hungry, but like I feel like it's because of that, like that craving for like, oh, because of the fact that like I pushed my body like so fucking hard today, and this is gonna taste fucking nice.
But
now.
that's
so it's kind of like it's an indulging thing, as opposed
is it
to
an
like
indulging thing, or is it more so
indulging
just
in that
like
feeling of like I want to feel like hungry now because I just
that's not reward?
Yeah, it's a reward. Yeah.
Like, and
Indulging
it goes
in the
back
reward. I don't
to
even
I
know if
think
that makes
like
sense,
a
but-
common theme that like we've just been talking about is just like embracing the suck, or you could put it in other words, it's just like struggle's good. Struggle's good for you, whether it be struggling through a fast, struggling through training, struggling to wake up in the morning and like going for that workout, and your mind might tell you like, yo, like it's so easy to just stay in bed and just like it's so comfortable.
Dude, I didn't
in
want to
here,
fucking
you know
come
what I
today.
mean?
I'm not gonna lie.
But
Like, I was like,
that's where it's like, you have that inner battle with yourself. And the thing is, a lot of people I find that, especially that are kind of that are kind of going through their own struggles and whatnot, I find the ones that are always in that cycle is that they find comfort in that predictability of just not struggling. So there's a difference of struggling here. There's a struggling in terms of like mentally I'm not doing well and whatnot, but there's a struggling in terms of like struggling through a workout, struggling to work on a skill to achieve whatever it is. There's a difference in that, and I find that a lot of the times like we have mutual friends that are like kind of going through their own pain and whatnot, and even though they know what the answer is, like go out and go do a workout, you're gonna feel a lot better. But I think it's like somebody explained it to me. They're just like, sometimes people find comfort in the predictability of doing the same thing over and over again, and the moment that they step outside of that predictability, they're just like, like this is something different. But like, if only they just kind of power through that, and realize like there's a better option on the other side,
Yeah.
that it would be better for them, right? But because they are so used to that cycle of like, oh, I'm just gonna lie down in bed all day, I'm just gonna eat, I'm not gonna work out, I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna be not I'm gonna be sloth, you know that's a sin, is like
One of the seven deadly
one of the
sins.
seven deadly sins. And it's unfortunate because like you want to see your friend do better, and you keep you try to be in their corner, and you are in their corner, but it's like at some point like you got to take accountability and ownership of your own bullshit and go through that struggle. You know what I mean?
Some people though, I was thinking about this the other day too, though, but some people just don't fucking want it, bro. Some people just literally go through life the easy
Some
path
NPC bullshit.
and just they fucking they go into the beaten path. They walk that shit all the way down into fucking a nice little death at fucking 50 because from a heart attack or cancer or some shit. But that's like, some people just don't they don't want that struggle, you know what I mean? And that's there's always going to be people like that at the end of the day. They
100%. But it, like for me, it's like for those that I love, for those that are around me.
Yeah, of
and
course
it's
you're
like
gonna
I would. And at some point though,
because
bro,
what kind of friend or loved one are you if you don't
if you don't try, exactly.
path,
but
right?
at some point, it's just like, yo, we've had this conversation many times. Like some people need to have that really come to that realization on their own, and that's where it's gonna like really resonate the most, and that's where action like kind of comes out, right? Because like, yo, why am I gonna bother spending time having the same conversation that we've had numerous times? You're still doing the same thing, and if you're not willing to help yourself, why am I gonna help you?
Yeah, you gotta be willing to help yourself.
You gotta be willing to help yourself.
It's fucking, man. I'll tell you what though, it's tough, man. It's tough to fucking do those things, especially consistently. But I do like really believe like
it's so rewarding though, bro.
It's really rewarding at the end. I mean, of course it is, right? Like anything hard or anything worth doing is gonna be fucking tough, right? Like whether that's working out or whether that's starting a business or whether that's doing anything fucking difficult.
I just finished reading this book by Ryan Holiday called, I think it's called Discipline is Freedom or something like that. And he has all these Ryan Holiday's, I don't know if he has like he's really big on Instagram and whatnot for like where he talks about like just stoicism, like just
this guy,
yeah. So
the guy that fucking every single video is him like going up to the camera like, you're a fucking pussy. And, like,
no,
I don't
no, not that guy. He's not that
the Daily
aggressive.
Stoic, is that him?
The Daily Stoic, that's him.
Yeah,
the Daily Stoic.
He like walks up to the camera.
Does he do it?
He goes like right up to the camera. And,
but man, like he basically like he doesn't necessarily have anything net new that he's kind of contributing, but he curates a bunch of stories, a bunch of a bunch of like anecdotes and like not parables, but like examples of people that display discipline and stoicism throughout their life. So like he talked about Lou Gehrig, for example, he was this legendary Yankee that he had the longest streak. He was considered to be this Iron Man. He had the longest unbroken streak of how many games that he played, for example. He never had like any extraordinary skill or anything like that, but he just worked hard. He struggled, and he also brought up like Marcus Aurelius, which is like a common example of stoicism and whatnot.
Yeah.
And he talks about how like, yo, it's gonna suck, but essentially the more like, it's a lot easier to try to control the external than it is the internal. Like the battle of the mind is really where the real battle is. And if you can take control of your mind and like, have discipline in terms of like, well, whatever you want to achieve, like it's always going to be you versus yourself. And I take a lot of that because, man, sometimes I'll just be like, man, like I know I could have done more. I know I could have focused more. Whatever. Like, that's a daily battle for me, is the discipline. But the more that you do it, the more it just becomes second nature, and then you just don't even have to think about it. Like I don't have to think about going and training in the morning. I just do it every day. Yeah. I don't have to think of like. And there are days where I'm like, oh crap, like I don't really want to go. But I know if I do go, I'm gonna feel better about it right after. Yeah. And I just wish that more like of our friends, more people just knew that in general, because then I don't think that you would have as much. I don't know. I feel like there's just a lot more unhappiness like in today's world. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a lot more just people that, I mean, bro, like we have these fucking phones, man. Like these phones are gonna be the fucking death of us, bro. Like, think about how
Agreed.
easy it is to just have that dopamine fix, and that's what I think. I'm a big believer in like the whole dopamine thing. I think that's the reason for a lot of people's just like lack.
It's an addiction. 100%. It's an addiction.
But it's all about getting that fix at the end of the day. Like doing anything, like I get dopamine out of doing the shit that I like doing. You get dopamine from doing the shit that you're doing. But like for most people, I mean, for a lot of people, ourselves included, like we get dopamine the same way, from like our phones and stuff like that. But like it's like,
brother,
you're not spreading your app or your fucking buckets, right? You have everything.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting it.
You have everything. You have all your, if you put your dopamine on like a spectrum or a range, right? Or like you just put it in a bucket, right? You should be, or buckets plural. You should be putting a little bit into fucking, it's like the concept of don't put all your eggs in one basket.
It's like, it's
right?
abstinence. It's abstinence from that dopamine, because I like, man, the more that you have of something, the less impactful it is going to be for you. If in terms of like your enjoyment of it, you know what I mean?
So if you were to, exactly, to build off that, it's like if you were to put everything into your fucking, like people, like most people just watch shows, social media, stuff like that. And that's the thing. Like if you're putting all your eggs when it comes to getting your dopamine fix into one basket like that, and you're not spreading it across, 4 or 5 different other things. And those things could be, it could be cooking, it could be fucking
anything.
washing the dishes, it could be fucking you can, like, especially if you gamify those kind of things. I feel like there's like, this is why for me, like, video games are such a big part for me of like my like upbringing, and why I like them so much is because it kind of took you, it's one of those things that allowed for you to just focus on a singular goal, a singular task, and try your best to complete it every single time. And then it will build off of that, and you're gonna have to do multiple of them. And then that all kind of like umbrellas and
accumulates
into another like overarching goal, right? And so for like, dude, if you relate that then into how people get their dopamine fixes from just like social media, and I'm not a psychologist or anything like that, but if you're like literally trying to, you're just gratifying yourself, swiping and then watching something that's funny for like 10 seconds, swiping again, you're going to forget that thing after like a day, not even a day, like the next hour, you're going to forget that thing. Then like, that's just like a terrible cycle compared to even like something as, you know what I mean?
Well, these companies are basically, it's a competition. It's a competition. It's a game for them for your attention. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think everybody recognizes and acknowledges that shit is unhealthy. It's literally just like an addiction. It is an addiction, man. You could have some people that are literally there, and I'm guilty of it, where I'm scrolling. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just spent an hour. Yeah. Like just scrolling through, and literally, what did I learn?
Like, bro, if you're able to just channel that and get that dopamine fix, but you're able to, instead of like, if social media, instead of forcing people to just fucking make it so easy for them to do nothing and just swipe just this action, instead of just doing this, imagine if it made you like fucking do squats, made you do fucking bench press and shit.
Yeah, I think you would find that would not. I think people would probably spend less time. They would fucking hate it. They would spend less time.
If there was like a fucking rule, if like the government is still like, if we were in China right now, and the government was like, yo, if you want to enjoy your fucking phone for fucking 20,
you gotta do 20 squats,
26 weeks out of the 52, you have to fucking like, you gotta, instead of swiping in your phone to get your content, you have to do this.
That's why I really like Patrick Bet David, right? Yeah. So he has a rule at his house with his kids. You probably know about this, where he's just like, if you want to, there's no iPads or iPhones around during the week, and if you want something, you have to earn it. Yeah. Right. So the thing is, like, and this is a theme as well that we talked about before, where it's just like, man, struggle is so good, but then when you have your own children, it's just like, how, like, your children and my children are going to be way better off than when, like, you and I were being raised by mom and dad. Yeah. For example, there's going to be a lot more available to them. A lot, you know what I mean? But But I feel like a lot of the reason why we are the way that we are is because we went through that struggle with mom and dad, and we can appreciate what hard work is and like earning something for our own. You know what I mean?
Bro, you had to fucking go to the library to
Exactly.
get your information.
So what I'm getting at is that for Patrick
to
Bet-David,
motherfucking
obviously
take the
he's
bus.
well off, but he
Yeah.
has kids, right? And he wants to instill that same kind of like you need to earn your shit.
Yeah.
So in his household, you have to read books in order to get like let's say X amount of hours
On your phone.
on the iPad at the end
Yeah.
of the week or some shit.
Yeah.
Like if you want, like for example, apparently his kids want like a treehouse, so he has a quota of like I don't know, let's say 500 books that all of them have to read together. Like combined, I think he has like 2 or 3 kids or something like that, and it's taken them like 2-3 years in order to get that treehouse. I think that's freaking
Yeah.
dope because it's kind of shooting 2 birds with 1 stone. On the one hand, you're teaching your kids like, yo, you gotta work to earn this, but on the other hand, think about all that knowledge that they've just been absorbing with all the books. I'm sure that he kind of qualifies which books are things that that they're going to be able to read, right?
I mean, that could be a steep path, though, bro. Like, if that could be that could be tricky, you know?
How's that?
Because like on the one hand, it is like objectively like, yeah, like that's the way to do it, or like it's not that it's the way to do it, but it's a tricky road where like, the reward might be something that they crave more than actually just they might just be putting up with doing the thing to get the reward. You know what I mean?
But it's just like
But
a
that's also a
Miyagi.
good thing too.
It's a
'Cause-
Miyagi effect.
Yeah.
You know what I
true,
mean? It's just like,
true.
okay, you might be like trudging your way through a book, but then you're gonna learn something.
Absorbing
You're
at
absorbing,
least like a percent,
even if
you
it's
know
just
what
a
I mean?
percent. That's
Yeah.
more of a percent of as opposed to here.
Just here.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, man, when
There's that though, but then there's also the other half of it too that I was thinking of, and maybe this is just me, but this
Yeah.
it's just like, bro, like I feel like when I have kids, like I'd want them, I'd want to be like like maybe like I don't know what the distribution is. I was about to say half, like that strict half. Just let them fucking do their own thing and like let them be a kid / let them just
Oh yeah,
figure
yeah.
their own
No,
person
I'm
out,
sure that
you know
he
what I
still
mean?
lets them be a kid, but in
Yeah.
terms of like when you ask for something, you're just not gonna get it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's a core principle.
That's the
for
core
sure.
principle.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, like that's instilling. So it's not saying I'm not gonna get it for you. I will get it for you, but you're gonna earn it.
You're gonna earn it.
You're gonna learn these qualities. And the
Yes.
thing is, like,
that's important.
yo, when I forget who said it, but there's like, yo, from 0 to 4, you're your child's father, you're your child's like mother. From 4 to 18, you're your child's parent. You're not your child's best friend. You're your parent. So sometimes you're gonna have to make some decisions where your heart wants to be like, oh, but like I want to give that kid XYZ. But you as a parent, are you equipping them with the skills to be enough to be the most wholesome, the most effective person that they can be when that they're an adult? You know what I mean? Sometimes it happens by chance that just by just by fluke that even though the parent might not be conscious of that it just so happens to still produce like some solid people in general anyway. But I would think that if it's within your control to help steer them in that kind of direction,
yeah.
that's what you're gonna fucking do. And then from 18 onwards, then you're your kid's best friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's honestly like this is what I'm talking about. Where between you and me, like I feel like that's literally the path between like with me and mom and dad, for example. Like from 4 to like let's say 23, I was just like fuck, like but they instilled those values of like discipline, of like you're like I acted out a lot, obviously, like that's why I got in trouble a lot. But then once that kind of discipline, that kind of like that work ethic really taught me to kind of go get my own. And then once I became like 23, 24, 25, that's where I'm just like I started getting like actually being friends with mom and dad, which was fucking dope. So it's difficult. See, this is the balance I think that you're getting at, is just like you don't want to get it to the point where you're pushing your kids away, because that can fucking happen. Whereas just like you're such a disciplinarian,
just doing too much where you're controlling their life kind of thing,
exactly,
like their whole 9 to 5.
exactly. It's kind of like what I'm getting at is you're not going to be like overbearing to them, but it's just like, okay, do your own thing, be a kid or whatever, but if you want XYZ, it's like, okay, but you're gonna
there's
earn
a few core principles
Yeah.
within that frame that they have to live by, and I really like the whole like you have to earn it kind of thing. What do you think is more powerful for a kid? And this is kind of coming from a personal place too, but do you think like, here, have this thing, but you have to do something to earn it, or we can't give you this thing because XYZ excuse, we can't afford it, basically.
It depends. I would say it depends on like what they're asking for. If they're asking for a freaking McDonald's, like, okay, first of all, we're not gonna go to McDonald's because you know, like, I don't want to. Like, McDonald's should be a reward. It should not be the norm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, that McDonald's after soccer,
Brother,
rec league
fire,
soccer.
exactly.
Oh,
It was-
man.
but look,
Karate class.
you know what's interesting is because like I remember like having Swish Out, like thinking that Swish LA was this fancy restaurant.
Fucking
Because mom and dad
Michelin
never took us
star.
out. I was
Yeah.
actually speaking with Tito Carlos and Tita Aurora, Adrian's parents,
Yeah.
yesterday. I'm like, man, that's why I loved coming to your house, because part of the reason was because like you would take us out for things that my parents would never take us out for. Like, for example, like going to the movies. How often do we go to the movie? Well, maybe not for you, but for me, bro, I could tell you how many times I went to the movies with mom and dad on one
we
fan.
never went to the
We
movies.
never went to the movies, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I
But
don't
yo,
think-
whenever
yeah.
like every other weekend with Adrian, Tito Carlos would take us to the movies.
I know
Yeah,
that. Fuck.
bro. But at the same time, I feel like that kind of upbringing also teaches you to appreciate it. The shit, like when you do have it, is like, fuck, like this is a novel thing, you know what I mean? Whereas how many kids do you have that you know that grew up where it's just like that was a regular occurrence, like every other
Yeah.
night they're going out, and usually those aren't the most well-rounded kids.
Mm.
Usually those are the kids with overbearing parents. Like, you know, I could tell you there's a bunch of kids. Well, Austin and I talk about it all the time where it's just like you could tell which kids are going to quit.
Right.
You know what I mean? They just can't deal with the pressure. They can't deal with a struggle. And this is something that I want to set the expectations with parents at the club is like, listen, this is going to be a struggle. This is not going to be easy. This is jiu-jitsu. Your kids are not like it's fine if they have fun, but I like they're going to struggle, and there might be times where they're going to cry and whatnot, but let them cry. I'm going to talk to them. Right. But this is something where they're going to come out more well-rounded as a result of this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not necessarily because like this is not this just like happy-go-lucky type of club here.
Oh,
We're gonna
for
have
sure.
fun, but your kids are gonna go to work. They're gonna
Yeah.
struggle, and they're gonna be better for it. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
that's kind of like the approach that I want to take, because this is not an over-glorified babysitting club, which some clubs are.
Yeah.
And then you have, and then what's fucked up is then those kids go to competition, and then they get mad, they get really frustrated and upset because they are actually not as good as they thought that they were, and that starts in the training room. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like, and it goes back to what we're talking about, like, man, that struggle through something and actually like working through it and then achieving it. It's so rewarding.
I had last night the topic of, because we were with my girlfriend's family and she has a cousin that is a little bit older. She's a little bit more farther in life. She has a kid and her husband was there kicking it with us. This was after when everyone left and we were just chilling late nights, late hours of the night. And then they were talking about enrolling their kid in martial arts. Like the topic of martial arts came up, and then obviously, like, you know, Maisie was just like, oh yeah, like Justin does jiu-jitsu. And then they were telling me like they were thinking about enrolling their kid in like karate and taekwondo. In the back of my mind, I was like, man, don't fucking do that.
What did you say?
But they brought up a good point too for them. And this is something that maybe like we like you can take away, and like just for other because like karate and taekwondo are way more established than like jiu-jitsu. Like they've I think it's had,
no, 100%. Yeah,
I think it's had way more time here. It's been ingrained in the culture. So for them, it's a convenience thing. For the parents, it's like, you know,
convenience out of well established.
We're thinking about doing karate because karate, right? There's a program right after school where they pick your kids up, they bring it to the dojo, they teach them the shit there, then they drop them back off to the school. We just pick them up, and their school is like a 5-minute walk away. And so from that point of view, I was like, man, because I told him straight off the bat, I was like, man, any martial art's gonna be good. Like, get them into a martial art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day,
My
like,
okay,
karate
yeah.
being what it is, taekwondo being what it is. Yes, it's like McDojo
My
kind of
counters
thing.
for that sounds like it's more for the parents than it is for the kids.
Yeah.
if you ask me, because you're not because you're the
Well,
core,
I'll tell you
the core theme here is convenience. Oh, they have an after school program. Yeah, there's jujitsu that has after school as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But well, I mean, I don't know about that
Their area,
particular.
maybe not, right?
Yeah, right. But the other thing too is obviously like there's the ignorance factor as well, because
There's that for sure.
because and that, like, the guy's a beauty, but the husband is all like, like I did judo when I was younger, and I just didn't really like, I just found it so boring, and I was just like, fair. You should try it. Like, you should try considering putting them to jujitsu or even judo again, or even wrestling. I
I would say wrestling.
the kid
100%.
the kid was like, he got like their eldest is like 4.
Yeah.
And like, obviously, like, them
Put him in
being,
gymnastics first, in my opinion.
yeah, something like
Gymnastics,
that.
yeah, some spatial.
But I
body-
only brought up wrestling because like the kid was like having a just a field day with the presents he got. One of them being like this stuffed triceratops. And the first thing he did, he was just fucking grappling,
Wrestling
and
it. Yeah,
wrestling
yeah,
and shit.
yeah,
And I was
yeah,
like, yo, you should get little Nicky on some wrestling or
Yeah.
some judo. And then
Yeah.
he's just like, yeah, but like I did judo when I was younger, and I just didn't fucking like
Okay,
it.
so here's my take on it for karate and taekwondo. Taekwondo is bullshit. Number one,
Mm.
I'm not saying like, it has some good kicking techniques.
Okay, to specify,
Yeah.
what, like, the techniques and stuff that you learn are probably bullshit. But there's another aspect of martial arts too that's really important that gets discounted. I think,
Delusion?
is- you can put that into the technique side
Yeah,
of things.
yeah.
But then, like, I said the reason why, like, martial arts
In
is,
general.
like, in general is
Yeah.
good for like any kid.
Yeah.
Is because of like the
Discipline.
more so the
Yeah.
discipline aspect,
100%.
right?
100%. Won't argue with that.
Yeah.
100%. I
Yeah.
agree. So
And
if
that's
you're,
like half of it.
but that should not be. That should start at home.
Yes.
You're not. Why are you
Mainly.
relying on another, on essentially strangers
Yeah.
at first anyway to discipline your kid? That should start at home. I
Yeah.
know where you're gonna respond. Is like it's a discipline in terms of like a martial art and whatnot. That is a little bit different from
Well, also
discipline at
because
home.
it's like kid on kid too, right?
Yes,
It's like,
yes,
yeah.
okay. But my argument to that is okay. If that's the
Yeah.
case, put them in a more effective martial art because you're doing that at the cost of delusion.
Hmm.
You're saying that karate and karate and taekwondo are more established. Yes, that is a strength. However, it's also a weakness. Why is
Yeah.
it a weakness? Because it's way more watered down now.
Yeah.
In the efforts of making it more, in the efforts of making it more inclusive, they've watered it down to the point that they make it seem like that anybody can do it. Not everybody, like karate, it's a travesty what happens to karate. Karate used to be fucking legit. The best karate fighters used to be able to compete against the best Muay Thai fighters, and they would actually beat them in competitions between Muay Thai and karate. Can you
Yeah.
imagine that? And today, bro, the guy won a gold medal because the other guy hit him too hard. Take that in for a second. You want to talk about delusion? That's a delusional fucking
Yeah.
sport. Are you putting them in the best position to like, bro? How are you going to be a
Wait,
12-year-old?
did the guy quit?
Nah,
He
he
just
got
hit him too hard?
disqualified, bro.
He just got
disqualified for hitting him too hard
How the fuck
because
did he hit him?
I don't. I think it was like it was a
Spinning
I want to say it was a
back kick?
head kick or something like that. But he
He got
but
disqualified for
he
hitting him-
got disqualified for hitting him too hard,
Oh,
fam.
yikes.
Now,
Yeah.
okay, let's look that up. I don't want to be misspeaking, but that's how I remember it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like,
Sure.
bro, like that's a joke of a sport if you ask me. You know,
Yeah.
and I think that was on the Olympics, fam. Either the Olympics or like on the World Cup or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, at that level,
Okay.
yeah, that's fucking weird.
That's
but, like,
retarded.
I think all martial arts have like some weird, like, even
Jiu-jitsu.
BJJ. Yeah.
So let me. So I'm
Yeah.
getting to that. So Taekwondo is the most bullshit of like. You want to talk about McDojos? That is the biggest McDojo. Like, it's not just like some of them are McDojos. All of them are McDojos.
Yeah.
How are you gonna have a 12-year-old black belt? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They're paying for belts, bro.
It's
And that's
fucking-
why it's a travesty for Taekwondo because they can't even like
You never heard someone
Taekwondo
saying
is-
they fuck someone. they'll fuck a
Taekwondo
bouncer
is
up.
shit. I'm sorry. They have one good kicking technique, which is the spinning back kick, and that's about it. Everything else is just fluff. You'll never like. I'm not like maybe some guy that's like a trained Taekwondo will beat up a civilian, but Taekwondo against like it's literally the bottom of the barrel martial art. I'm sorry, like that's gonna piss off a lot of people. I don't care. Come to the mats. Let's test it out. You know what I mean? Like that's just the reality of it. And the thing is, this culture of inclusivity and saying, "Oh, it's for everybody." No, it's not for fucking everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for you to tell somebody that they're an effective martial artist, you're just lying to them and you're feeding their fucking ego. And you're actually doing them a disservice because now they're gonna go into interactions thinking that they know some shit, and they might actually end up fighting somebody that actually knows Muay Thai or kickboxing, and they'll get fucked up. They'll have this false sense of confidence. Meanwhile, where it's coming from delusion, it's coming from nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you were to ask me, I hear you, but it sounds like it's more like I can understand the discipline aspect of it and like the camaraderie of like having friends and whatnot at Taekwondo and karate. But
There's that.
I am biased, obviously, but I'm not that biased because look, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, gymnastics. Those are the three I would say for those kids at that age, 5 and like to like 8, put them in that shit. Gymnastics not so much more for the self-defense, but just the spatial awareness, number one, and the ability to move your body in that space. Gymnastics is an amazing base to then flow into wrestling. I would say before even jiu-jitsu. So for me, for example, when I have kids, I don't care if that you're going to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but you're going to fucking take jiu-jitsu. You're going to learn how to defend yourself, especially if you're a boy. If you're a girl, okay. If you like it, no big, great. If you don't, I'm not going to pressure you into jiu-jitsu. But as a boy, I don't care if you become a world champion in jiu-jitsu,
Yep.
but you're going to fucking learn how to fight for me. There's no choice. There's literally going to be no choice in that. Because
Right.
as a man, like to me as a man, you should know how to defend yourself and you should know how to defend your loved ones. You know what I mean? And you know, it's not. It's obviously tough because then it's like as like who knows whether or not your partner agrees and whatnot. But I would think that's going to be an easy conversation to have. You know what I mean? I don't know. But anyway, so going back to being watered down, jiu-jitsu's fucking getting there, bro. Jiu-jitsu was always the last bastion of fucking you know, you have to really earn your stripes, you have to earn your belts, you know what I mean? And now though you are seeing, because jiu-jitsu, so this is the disadvantage of things that becoming mainstream, right? So jiu-jitsu is becoming a little bit more mainstream and a little bit more well established, and because of that, like Austin and I talk about this all the time, you have like some of the myths that they tell you is that jiu-jitsu is for everybody. Yes, I would say that jiu-jitsu is absolutely for everybody. Everybody should learn some level of jiu-jitsu. However, not everybody is going to be able to handle jiu-jitsu, meaning there's a certain personality that you need to be able to have in order to start training jiu-jitsu and stay learning jiu-jitsu. You have to be able to take L's. People that can't, the people that don't have the ego of like, they have this delusion in themselves, like, no, I'm good at everything. And then the moment, like, you're not going to be good at jiu-jitsu right away.
Yeah.
You know, well, no, there's phenoms and stuff like that. But now you have gyms that are literally, and I'm sure that you've experienced this yourself as well, where you visited other gyms, and where it's just like, bruh, like, you're not a purple belt. Like, bruh, you're not a brown. Yo, you're a black belt.
Yeah.
Fam. And that could be a little bit like kind of snobbish of us from time to time. But there are, to say that there aren't gyms that fast track their belts in the interest of keeping people in the gym so that there isn't as much turnover, that would be a straight out lie. It's starting now. It's
starting.
fucked up. It's fucked
I
up.
think COVID kind of fucked up.
COVID fucked it up 100%, but that's still on the onus of the
is.
instructor, because at the end of the day, you're actually doing your student a disservice by giving them a belt that they are not able to actually handle.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I give you a purple belt right now, for example, which I don't think I'm not even able to do as a brown belt, but let's just pretend. And then you go to another, but you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
And then you go to another gym and you just get murked. You get destroyed by their blue belts as a purple belt.
Yeah, it's
How are you
terrible.
going to feel?
It's a
You're going to feel
terrible
like
look.
shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not gonna you're gonna be like fuck. Like you might even feel like shit to the point where you might even think about quitting jujitsu. Because that's happened before. You know what I mean? Where some guys that are a blue belt, they'll go to another gym, they'll get murked by their white belts. And I've had it before. I know 2 people that basically just quit because they would move away, they would go to another gym, and they're just like, fuck, I'm not actually a blue belt. I'm just getting murked. And they don't have that resilience to just like, you know what? Yeah, that might be the case today, but I'm gonna keep getting better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not doing your students a fucking favor by giving them a belt too early. If anything, like I always felt a barometer for whether or not somebody's ready is like when you have a bunch of people saying that they're sandbaggers.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That is a good way to put it. Yeah.
And it's not just for people that are of the same belt or lower of that person, but it's like a black belt saying that you're a sandbagger or a brown belt saying you're a sandbagger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I like for me, you're a sandbagger. You should be a fucking blue belt by now.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
I know I should
like
be.
even when I'm rolling with you and I'm just like, bro, this guy hasn't fucking trained, but like it's crazy because it's just riding a bike. You still have a very similar style to what you were doing from before. It's fucked. You know what I mean? And I'm not the only one that thinks that. I've talked to other people that I've rolled with. He was like, bro, what the fuck? How's your brother a white belt? But this is what I mean. This is when you know. This is when you have those conversations with other people. That's when you know, right? It's not just because you've been here for 6 months. Let me give you your fucking first stripe. Like, fuck off.
It is a delicate balance, I think, because on the one end, you don't want to, because it can go 2 ways, right? If you stay too long and it's like, oh, the person might get discouraged and be like, you know, like I'm probably never going to get fucking promoted, right? And so it's like, what do you do there?
But that's a struggle. That's part of the struggle. And
and
as an instructor, you have to explain that. So I get what you're saying, but people will feel that way and stay feeling that way if they don't understand the context.
Yeah.
So it would be, for example, for me or for Tom or for anybody else that's like in the front of the room, that's where we have to explain that. You know what I mean? It's on us as instructors to explain, like, hey, okay, for some of you that might feel discouraged and whatnot that you're not getting belted today or not yet, just stay. You know what? We're watching. We're still there. Like, you're doing great. However, I would explain exactly what I just explained to you. Like, if you're actually not ready, then we're just not going to give it to you. And that's fine. Keep coming to class and you will get it. Those that get a black belt are not the ones that are exceptional or at anything per se. It's just the ones that stayed.
Yeah.
It's literally just the ones that stayed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think at that point, once you have so many years and you eventually get your black belt, that's what it becomes.
Yeah.
You know, like the ones that, you know, get their black belts, you either get it, there's no in between. It's either the ones that get their black belts in like 5-6 years, which is like phenom crazy shit.
That's like literally training 10 times a week type shit.
Yeah. Or there's the ones that get their black belts that are just like lifers, that they've just been doing it
hobbyists.
For hobby. Yeah, exactly.
I mean? Like,
but eventually it's like, okay, you've been fucking, like you've earned this just through sheer determination and consistency.
It's also an age
and
thing.
That itself is like, reason enough to give someone their fucking thing. But when you're in that in-between territory, it's like, okay, we're going to give this to you just because. I feel like if you're in the military, you're going to give that person the black belt just because, right? And when you give something, it's like the concept we were talking before. If you just give something just because, it's like a terrible. It's not setting
a good precedence. Number one,
yeah, exactly.
And like the people that the learners, our students that we would hope here, like. That we're hoping to build here, like I want them to be able to go to other gyms and represent us.
Yeah.
And what I would hate is to have a senior belt that does represent us, like put on a badge, like not necessarily like just be a bad representation of who we are. You know what I mean?
What do you think? Like, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be fucking crazy blue belts. There's always going to be crazy purple belts that are just, like, no matter who you are, you could be a black belt coming from, like, just a local gym and just get murked by those guys.
No, that's fine.
But what do you think is, like, there's, like, a good way to go out and there's a bad way to go out? What's a bad way to go out?
A bad way to go out
in terms of, like getting murked? Like, if you were to get tapped out, like, what's a bad look? If you're, like, say, like, a higher belt, like, if I'm a purple belt.
A bad look is to then, like, try to railroad them right after.
Right.
So, for example, I got tapped by this 4-stripe white belt the other day.
Right.
By like this ankle lock that he was just like.
I tapped out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, like to me, look, at the end of the day, I have to quell my ego and be like, oh, he's a white belt, but I just got tapped, and I'm not gonna lie,
It's gonna happen.
it's gonna like
Yeah.
like there is that little voice, and it was like, oh, bro, like what, like you know what I mean? But then in my mind, it's like, no, that's my ego
That's your
talking.
ego.
That's ego. You know what I mean? And you have to recognize that, hey, it's not a big deal. Like tapping is fucking good for
It's
you.
fucking part of it.
It's part of the game, you know what I
Literally
mean?
part of the game.
And on like instead of I'm a big fan, like one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in like recent, like the past 5 years is framing, reframing shit. You know what I mean? I could either say, oh, like I'm so shit, like I'm actually not a brown belt, or I'm not a purple belt because I got tapped by this lower belt, or say, oh shit, that was actually that was a legit submission, and now how do I not have that happen again?
Yes, exactly.
So it's like, yeah, reframing is super, super important. Like, for example, I was one of the things that I find, especially like I was guilty of it when I was younger. It was like, oh, woe is me. My like the journey, like my story is like, of course I'm gonna feel this way. Why wouldn't I feel this way if my journey was like that? You know what I mean? Where and you can either there's a fork in the road here. You could either be a victim to your own bullshit and keep perpetuating that woe is me mentality, or be like, I'm in spite of that shit, I'm still gonna fucking kill it.
Right.
I'm still I like, so what I'm getting at is being accountable and taking ownership of your own journey instead of playing yourself in your mind as a victim of your circumstances. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I don't know, man. Like I think we talked about it before, where it's just like I used to hate the fact that we came to Canada because we were struggling so much, and then life was so good in the Philippines. But I look back at it now, it's like, thank goodness that we did, because
Yeah.
we learned a lot of
Yeah.
like, how we are today because of that experience. And I'm so thankful for kind of that struggle. So it's just like, this is where now, like, as like, obviously we can't really, it's not something that we're going to repeat per se when we have kids, but you still want to instill those kinds of same values of like, yo, you're not just going to get everything that you ask for. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely say, fuck. Just for me personally, like, I love the fact that we're in a more drier climate.
Yeah,
a little bit more colder. But I mean, I hear what you're saying, and man, just it's like so many things that we're talking about right now could just be applied to so many different avenues in life. Like I'm watching this one show too that hits the tone on that pretty well.
For sure.
It's another anime.
Is it?
It's one that is like topping the charts right now.
What's
and
it called?
It's some, I don't even know what the fuck it's called. I'll pull the name up for you, but it's about basically like, it's actually really cool. These Japanese motherfuckers are so creative, man. Like
It's within their culture to like perfect shit. That concept of Kaizen. You know what I mean? Continuous improvement.
Right, continuous improvement.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you see that because like, it's pretty fair to say with every season of new shows, new pop culture that comes out in that space, like anime, manga, there's some like new novel idea that just like captures the attention of everyone that's in that space and becomes mainstream, right? And so this show, for example, is one of those cases where it's basically starting at it's kind of, just think of it as like a Lord of the Rings kind of like time horror
okay.
setting. The main character is
like fantasy.
a mage. So it's like a
Okay.
fantasy
Yeah,
elf
yeah.
kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
The main character is the only elf, and she's like lived for thousands of years,
Yeah.
and she basically the story starts off at the end of their journey together, and the first couple episodes are basically, it's very slow paced. It's very like about story and character building, but it starts off, yeah, like I said, at the end of their journey. The title of the first episode is literally called Journey's End. And she's an elf, so she lives for fucking ever, and she sees
So
over the
she's
next
immortal. Like it's not like
time. I don't know if she's immortal, but she just has a really long lifespan.
yeah.
And she sees like the people that she fucking went on this journey with, that they killed the fucking Demon King. Like she sees them over the next 2 episodes, 20 years pass by, and then they're fucking dying, right?
Yeah.
And so they die off. So basically this whole show is like, imagine a fucking like an MMORPG, like a World of Warcraft, right?
Yeah.
But if the NPCs actually had their own story, and if the the story just went past the actual story itself, right? Like what happened after like happily ever after, when you slay the dragon.
Yeah.
What happens after the fact, right? And so it follows the main
That's
character.
dope. That's a cool concept.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it's really funny too, is because they loop in a lot of like
flashbacks and shit.
No, a lot of actual like gameplay mechanics of
really?
and, like, at every single like place they visit, they always stay at an inn.
That's so cool,
right?
man. Yeah.
But that's what I mean. It's like this, like you said, Kaizen, like building off of, and always what I really, really appreciate about Japanese culture and the writers at these manga studios is that they're able to loop in like common or
concepts from like concepts that work well from other animes, and then they'll combine it to make something even sicker.
But also drawing in things from like, you know, in this particular anime, it's from the gaming world,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
exactly.
But anyway, the only reason why I brought it up is because like what we were just talking about, especially with like jujitsu and having to earn things, was that the main character in the show is like, yeah, she's an elf, she's lived for thousands of years, but bro, she's like lived for thousands of years, basically just fucking learning, bro, like literally learning, but also hiding the fact that she's very humble in the sense that like, even though she's a fucking bad motherfucker, she's like the most powerful fucking mage in the whole show. You never get that sense from her.
Yeah,
that she's like,
she's really humble.
Crazy yeah, she's really humble.
Yeah.
So much so that she's literally lived most of her life suppressing and hiding her like her mana, right? Her so that
people can't sense.
Yeah, and then when she goes into these places and stuff like that, like she never really like you know how it is usually in like shonen and stuff, where shonen is like all about like how strong the main character person is, and like how they go into different places throughout their journey, and like people can be like, yo, that guy's a motherfucker. But like for this girl, she's like, no one knows she's a motherfucker, and she like intentionally hides that so that she just kind of like lives a normal life kind of thing. Right? She can just do whatever the fuck she wants to do, but still builds in her craft, right? I think it like that's a cool concept. It is a really cool concept.
Well, it's just like this, the idea, and this is something that I always try to talk to mom and dad about, especially when we go back to the films. Like, yo, don't show off that we have all these things. Like, exactly. it's literally already in their face that we have all these things. There's no purpose of like for example, dad.
Just don't talk about it.
Yeah, you don't even have to talk about it. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, why?
Like I didn't in that table last night talking about martial arts and stuff like that. They were like, you know, the dad and the wife were kind of like going off like, oh yeah, we can put on martial arts. Like, oh, like Matt did martial arts, like he was really good at it and stuff like that. I'm just like, they're like, I don't need to flex. Like,
why do you need to flex?
Why do I need to flex?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So actually, I was hanging out with
maybe even more so for you. You probably
dude, I was hanging out with some of my friends, like, and there were a bunch of people that weren't even there.
Yeah.
Sorry, that I've known from time ago, but were there. Right. And so we've known each other, but like, I don't like really follow them on Instagram, or I don't have them on Facebook or anything like that. And, like the whole night went through, like, I didn't even bring up the fact that like I had a gym, or like, you know, I've still been training or whatever. And then at the end of the night, one of my, like, so it was just like the main crew at that point. It's like, yo, like, and one of my friends was like, yo, why like you didn't even tell them that you had a gym or anything? I'm like, I don't need to. Like, why, like, how ugly would it be if I were to be like trying to kind of like force that into the conversation that I have a gym, that I'm like a brown belt now, and like that's so ugly. You know what I mean? It's like, ugh, like,
you're gonna do that. If
they ask about it, sure, yeah. But even then, it's just like, look, this is what I was telling some of my friends as well. It was just like, you got to protect your goals. You got to protect like what your intentions are, like what your true goals are, because when I find, like, I'll tell you, for example, because I know you have my back, I know that you're going to support me. You're not going to tell me, like, if you are going to say, oh, if this is not going to work, you're going to give me like a reason as to why you think that. You're not projecting your own insecurities about why it wouldn't work. Whereas if I just tell, like, even just like a casual friend, like, hey, like, this is what I want to do, this is my vision for the future, a lot of times people will kind of like be negative. Yeah, no, not necessarily that. Oh, I don't want to do this. Like, oh, but like, have you thought about this X, Y, Z? But and a lot of times it's just like they're projecting their own insecurities on you, and then that can contaminate your energy about that thing. Because now, like, they could introduce self doubt.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So that's why, like, for me, like, leading up to opening a gym, did you see me posting about it? Did you see me even talking about it? Like only the people that actually knew that I was opening a gym were like people that are in our general like friend group, for example, right? Like Hubert and Steven didn't even know that that's what I was doing until it actually fucking opened.
Yeah.
For example, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of just moving in silence, man. Like, so
moving
for
in
example,
silence, staying in your lane, but not doing it just because it's like, I mean, moving. Yeah, I 100% agree, and I'm like that too.
let
but,
the
like,
results speak
let
for
the
themselves.
results speak for themselves.
100%.
Exactly.
You don't have to like. You don't have to gas yourself up.
You're not doing that. You're not doing all of this for anyone's validation.
Just for the clout and the validation. No, I'm doing this because this is my passion. You know what I mean? I'm doing
fucking life,
like like even this podcast. I'm doing it because I think like obviously it's a great way for us to record our conversations and catch up on a weekly basis. But if once we start actually distributing this, if some of the lessons that we've learned in our own journeys can add value and enrich the audience's lives as well, that makes me happy. You know what I mean? I don't care if we make any money off of this or anything like that.
I read something the other day, like it was a comment on some other pods. I don't even know who this podcast was. Like, it seems like a lot of people have this shit nowadays, or are doing something like this. And I say, fucking hell yeah, brother, fucking do that shit. I read some other some comment, some like just negative like bitch made shit comment. That's like, because the short was about some like stupid little topic or whatever. It was just whatever, and the comment was just like, oh, like this is the reason why not everyone should have a podcast. But I'm like, bro, fuck this guy.
Yeah,
everyone should have a fucking podcast.
Shit.
I firmly believe everyone, if you're down to do it, fucking do it. Because at the end of the day, no matter who the fuck you are, no matter where, like what walk of life you've went down or trudged down, everyone has something to say in terms of like their experience, what they've learned, and passing that off as knowledge. We talked about this last week. It's like the biggest shame or the biggest L that you could possibly take in your life is to take the things that you've learned in your life and not
convey it or not
teach someone else,
the next generation,
not instill that or teach that to the next generation or someone else, just like anyone else to like improve on their life.
But that guy that was hating, that's exactly who I'm talking about. In terms of like, yo, they're insecure about their own. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that fucking guy, man.
Something happened to him. I'm sure that he was probably bullied or something like that. You know what I mean? But you know,
recognize
that kind of negative energy is. I mean, you could argue, hey, bullying is good. You know what I mean? In some regards, because that's where you like that kind of pressure on other people makes diamonds. But obviously, that bullying comes from like they were hurt at some point as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So sometimes you got to show those people grace. But hey, enough of that is if you do that too much, it's like, okay, nah, this guy's just a fucking dickhead.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But genuinely, like, how can you not be on the side of someone that tries? You know, like someone that that fucking tries, and you can see their progression, their effort, and how much.
I love
you
it.
know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yo,
I used to think so much too. Like it was just like, I don't know whatever. I think maybe it was just because it was a cool thing to do. But remember back in like high school, I don't know if this applied to you, but it definitely did for me. Where like there was this culture about it being cool not to try.
Yeah.
Like in class, it's like, oh, I got like a 70, but if I try, that would have got like a 90.
100%.
That's just bullshit.
It's a culture.
Why wouldn't you try?
It's a cultural thing. I mean? It's a cultural thing because if you,
it's cool to like.
Yeah, to be a rebel, basically.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Whereas in the Philippines, for example, yo, you're cool if you're smart.
Yeah.
Like there's a value. The cool people, like in high schools, are like the smartest people. So it's the inverse.
Yeah.
Whereas the cool people here are,
which is so tragic because those motherfuckers end up leaving the country, and that's why it stays fucking poor.
I know. But, or those people
they come here and they're just getting tainted.
Or they get corrupted.
Yeah,
you know, because that happens, right? They stay. Yeah, like, that happens. But I don't know. I think it's trending upwards, honestly, in the Philippines. We'll see how it goes.
It's such bullshit. Like when I look back at that, I cringe because it's like, why was that ever cool? You know, like, why was it ever cool to not like give it your best fucking shit?
Because I think, I mean, I'm just kind of like my initial reaction to that is because I think everybody doesn't want to be there in the first place. Like homework sucked, like you know what I mean, like, and then for those that were kind of like outwardly conveying that they really don't give a shit, like, it's like, oh fuck, I want to not give a shit. You know what I mean? And I want to have that confidence to like, whatever. But you know what, look, where are those people that are cool now?
Yeah.
Not really doing much.
Not really doing much.
I tell you, like, so,
because it is a very bad mindset for the beginning.
oh yeah,
It's a
no,
terrible
dude, because
mindset.
you're building terrible habits, man.
Terrible habits.
Terrible habits.
It's like,
and
oh,
a
yeah,
lot of
I could have done that
the
thing.
cool
but
kids from my high school, they're not doing anything right.
yeah,
They're
Yeah.
not doing anything right now. It's
Yeah.
the nerds, the ones that are the nerds are the ones that are taking over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is the way it goes. And you know what? Let it be. If that's the case, that usually is a group. It's sad when a smart person gets contaminated, wants to be part of that cool crowd,
right.
and then now they will intentionally work against themselves. That's what's sad. Because I've seen that happen.
yeah,
There was this like one very like she was gorgeous, bro. Oh my goodness, I'm not gonna name any names, but she was just like book smart, just really. She was really kind, really cool, and then she like grade somewhere along the line, like grade 11, she, like the cool girls recognized how like hot she was becoming, whatever, and then she got into that group. She started smoking, started going out and whatnot, and
yikes.
yeah, then it like there's nothing worse in life than wasted potential.
Yeah, really is.
Bronx
yeah.
Tale, great movie.
Never
Robert
watched
De
it.
Niro, you gotta
Fuck.
watch it. And I think with that, I think that's a key
It's a good little
potential.
segue. I think.
Sorry, it's a key.
Big,
It's a
big
key takeaway.
I mean, number one, enjoy the motherfucking holidays, y'all. All
Yes,
right?
sir.
Enjoy the motherfucking holidays. Hope everyone, gets their presents and gets to where they need to go safely and soundly. And number two, just fucking give more of a
Struggle.
shit, man. Struggle.
2024
Give more
struggle,
of a shit.
but struggle with intention, because there's a difference between struggle, just general struggle, and struggling to working towards
We're
something.
gonna be struggling right now on this Merry Christmas Eve for the next couple hours, and then
Hell yeah,
fucking
we're gonna get some training in.
do
Talk
what
about
we- do what
dedication.
we need to do with what we got.
Hell yeah, brother.
All right.